Good morning. It's about 4 something in the morning on a Wednesday. The reason why I'm making this video is basically because I've been seeing a lot of comments and reading a lot of things and just hearing a lot of things from people, comments on social media and whatnot concerning the events that took place on Monday in the city of Baltimore, Maryland, the riot and the looting and all the things that took place. Now, what I find most interesting about it is, and which reason why I felt compelled to do this, is that it seems like no one's really asking why this happened. A lot of people get their information from the media and what they see on the news, and they stay glued to that TV. Maybe they feel like watching it on there, they feel more aware and they feel what's going on play by play. They feel safe. But the thing is, there's more to the story sometimes, and you really should ask, why. You should always question, because things ain't always black and white. No pun intended. But anyway, so there was witnesses who were around, eyewitnesses that spoke about how the events took place as far as the kids getting out of school on Monday. They got out of school. Now, mind you, they had intel that the kids were going to maybe pull something or do some things. I don't know how many kids or how much this was, how widespread this was. But all I know is they're kids, okay? Kids first. You could sit there and label them criminals or whatever, but this is somebody's child, okay? So they knew this was going to happen. So they had police on deck and, had people out there in SWAT and riot gear, ready to pop off, marching towards the students. When they come out, they see this. They see cops and cars and vehicles and helicopters and just like a war zone. And they come out of school to this hostile environment. Then, the kids, they take public transportation sometimes because some of the kids don't live in the area where the school is. So they got to be bussed out. So they on public transportation. They pull them off the public transportation. They pull them off the buses. They stop public transportation. Stop that, the bus, the light rail, the subway. These kids have no way out. They're stranded. So there you go. That's the first step. Okay. So these kids are sitting here asking why. And then there was no answers. All they see is police. You can clearly tell this is a serious situation. And they come marching towards. So you trying to tell me that every child was that organized and in unison that they were going to be just got out of school and just go off? I don't think so. I don't. Now, I ask you this, because people still have their opinions and still want to say things based on how they think or how they feel, whatever, what they seen, however it went, however it played out. But with all that said, as I said, that is someone's child. So now let me pose you this. If this had been something that took place in county schools, the first thing they would do is lock it down. And they would call the parents of these kids and let them know, come get your child. That would have been something smart to do, instead of having the police out there like that and have all this going on and just let them out and then snatch them off the buses and leave them stranded. What would be the purpose? What would be the end game of that? Like, what did they expect to happen in that situation? Now I ask you, if that situation had happened in the county, would it went down like that? No, I doubt it. I doubt that they would handle it that way. We know they wouldn't handle it that way because the parents would be outraged. And we already know, you know, that's where, you know, the median income, you know, is much higher than where these kids were coming from in this situation. You know, the median income was like 25,000. So you got to think about that. I mean, when it comes down to it, the impoverished get dismissed more likely than the ones with money. That's a fact. They get dismissed. Okay. Anyway, so all that happened, and then these kids are like, well, how the hell are we supposed to get home? And all the tension was already building from, you know, the weekend already. And I want to stop everything and say RIP to Freddie Gray, and my heart goes out to his family. And also my heart goes out to the family of those affected by what happened over this weekend and on Monday. You know, I know some people personally that are, you know, caught in the middle of it, who weren't even participating. You know, I feel for you, you know, but I just want to know what you would do if something like this was to go down in your area. If your child or your family member was involved in something like this, would you say they deserve it? Would you want them to die? I just wonder, like, where's the compassion? We're human beings, I thought. Where's the compassion to think, you know, this is somebody's child? You know, some of you may not be parents and may not have children, may not relate to that. But as a human being who's supposed to have compassion, and some of you are so-called supposed to be Christians who are supposed to be walking in love or whatever, and on there just saying all these racial epithets and all this, it's crazy. And, you know, you dismiss it as, oh, they're animals, they're this and that. But why? Why is this happening? Why did it build up to that point? Even before that, why did the adults do it over the weekend? Why did all that happen? Why? If your child is trying to get your attention and wants you to hear what he or she has to say, and you constantly dismiss him or her, they're going to act out. They're going to show you. They're going to get your attention one way or another. That's what humans do if they feel like they're not being heard. They take action. It may not be as extreme as destruction, but you're going to hear them. Either way, you're not going to be a part of the process. You had your opportunity. So I just want you to think about this. Have you ever reached out to a child who may not have the opportunities you have, or may not live in the area you live, who's around poverty, drugs, horrible school system, lead paint? Have you ever reached out and helped anybody in that kind of situation? Or know anybody like that? Like, you might sit on your high horse and feel like you're some kind of superior because, you know, you haven't gone through that. And some people have gone through that. And when you have opportunities and you get yourself out of certain situations, you know, you've gotten in trouble with the law or whatever, but you find yourself at some point after really struggling through that you're in a better place. And you forget when you were there, you forget what it was like. I I mean, a lot of people, we all get guilty of doing that sometimes. But just ask yourself, have you ever done something like that? And what would you do if that was your child? And don't sit there and say, it wouldn't be my child, because I'm quite sure it's somebody in your family that gets into trouble. If not, wow. Your family is blessed then. But for those who have not, and those who've gone through things and have made it, think about when you were there, when you were maybe a knucklehead and you were young, and you felt all this angst and things like that. You weren't being heard. We've been there. We were young. We didn't like something. We acted. So all I'm going to say is, instead of getting upset when people bring up, like when people talk about white privilege and things like that, it wouldn't hurt you. Like, what really would it do for you to listen to what they have to say? What would it do? Would it really kill you to listen? I don't have a problem listening. I listen to people all the time and they go on and say, that's how you get perspective. What's wrong with that? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of reaching out to people that you wouldn't necessarily do that for or look out for? That's what we're supposed to do as human beings. That's what I thought. So all you so-called Christians and so-called human beings out there, and call yourself a good person and you give, but what are you really giving? Like, if you're sitting there saying these ugly things about somebody's child or people, a whole group of people, without even bothering to ask why, you're just judging and moving on because it's not in your area. It doesn't affect you. I mean, I'm sure some people it's affecting who have to work in those areas, but you get to go home to your quiet, peaceful little area where the birds chirp and not think about it other than what you see on TV, but you're seeing it from afar like a TV show. And best believe that's what it is on the news stations, because they sit there and just keep the camera on all the negative stuff that was going on. Well, we know damn well there was other positive things happening too. So I hope, this inspires somebody to really think about that, really think about somebody who's in a different situation than you and the stuff they might be going through. Because things like this don't just happen. There's a reason. The looting, yeah, it might have been crazy. You might not agree with the methods. Yeah, they hurt businesses. Yeah, they did. It's terrible. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen at all. But why did it happen? Why did it happen? Like, people are like, well, the looting it had nothing to do with Freddie Gray. Nothing at all. And sometimes, man, rage doesn't have control. It wasn't thought out. It wasn't strategic. It happened. It popped off. And the ingredients were there for it to pop off. Like I said, the way it went down, that's not how you should handle something like that. Kids getting out of school, they're still kids. So with that said, I think that Stephanie Rollins should be ashamed of herself, and the city of Baltimore should be asking for her resignation. That's how I feel. Because the way it was handled was horrible. Horrible. They did a horrible job. I know people say, oh, she shouldn't have, if she had had things in place, she would have been inciting a riot and such. She had called the National Guard in. If she had done that ahead of time, she would have incited. She can't win. I'm like, well, look, the way she handled it, and then to come on television like damn near at the end of the night to barely talk, to barely have anything to say, and then just to address what I never said, that I was giving her room to destroy the city, but we all saw that she did. It might have been something she didn't mean to say, but she's been called out. But either way, that's moot point right now. The problem is she didn't step up when she should have in the first place. She didn't. Dropped the ball, in my opinion. But all I know is the way that was handled, it could have been handled way better. And my heart, like I said, my heart goes out to the city of Baltimore, the people who are affected directly by this stuff. Just hold your head, and just try to be better, man. Seriously, like really open your mind to what it would be like to be in these kids' shoes. Not only the kid, but the adults too. We know police brutality happens. Not every police officer goes into the force with an agenda to do harm or do anything. A lot of police officers go in there with the agenda of doing some good and helping people, and I know that. And some people could lose sight of that. And then there's still, like I said, there's still good cops out there who still basically try to, reach out to the community and, buy kids sneakers and things. I know that happens. But that's not what you see on TV. That's not what you see covered that much. I know it happens, but that doesn't negate the fact that there are police out there abusing their power and the badge and the fact that they can. Just because they're a cop does not mean we have to sit there and just give them the benefit of the doubt, because they get plenty of benefits, plenty of perks as a police officer, and sometimes that right there can corrupt your mind and make you think certain things about yourself. This false sense of authority over people or superiority. I'm well aware of that. I'm well aware of, it's basically like if, you never got girls in school, and then when you're older, you find yourself with lots of women and stuff. And this is like your new experience. This is a new experience for you. A lot of times you're not going to be, that humble. You're going to really start feeling yourself. It happens. And then, then you're acting like an ass. You're doing things you wouldn't have done before. You lose sight of who you were in the first place. You get comfortable, you get spoiled. It's a universal thing. It can happen in any situation. So, just something to think about. Love you all. Thanks for listening. I hope, some of you really can put yourself in that mind space and really think about that, because, it's important as a people, as human beings, to evolve and get past all these things instead of just dismissing a group of people who are clearly going through a lot, to give them a listen. Because riots are nothing new. Come on. They're nothing new. Sometimes there are stupid reasons. And the arguments of, come on. Sporting events. How many towns have been torched over sporting? There's countless incidents where there was riots over sporting events. And when it's covered, it's not covered the same way that they cover these police brutality on black people. It's not covered the same way. I implore you to go look it up and go see some of these read some of these articles or see some of these this footage covered by the news, the media, of these sporting events where they torched cars and shops and things like that. Destroyed them. But I kept you long enough. Appreciate you listening. Have a good day. Later.